This episode is sponsored by Bigger City. Thank you so much for supporting us and helping our show to grow. Hello, and welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we talk about the things that are weighing on our minds. My name is Michael Willer. I am a chubby chaser, and today I'm an excited Bigger Bash boy. I gotta say it, like, it's coming up fast. I was like, oh yeah, that's in like a month and a half or so. No,
right?
2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks.
Shit.
Wow.
2.5 weeks. So it's going to be fun. I'm excited. We'll be there. We're going to see y'all there. All good stuff.
Buckle up, boys.
Hey, my name's Don. I'm a big chubby guy living here in sunny Hollywood, and today I am practicing active self-denial because I have a piece of homemade toast just off screen slathered with Nutella. Ooh. And if all of you hear a scream of dismay from the podcast, that's because I forgot that Michael can see me and I've taken a bite.
Oh, hear you is the main issue. Just mute yourself. It'll be fine.
Hi, my name is Dan Oliverio, author, public speaker, and chubby chaser. And today I am an opening night director boy. My show, Patient 13, just opened at the Matrix Theater in Los Angeles on August 16th. We're getting great reviews, and I'm very chuffed, as the English would say. I'm
Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub, and today I'm a two-tone caftan boy.
That's right.
Two-tone caftan.
I'm wearing a caftan, and it's half pink, half black. It's sassy. It's got pockets. Ready to fill them with jelly beans and go poolside at Bigger Bash.
But like your cell phone, you have to remember to take the jelly beans out of the pocket.
Nah.
Let beans.
For that
poolside attention.
Let the pool cleaners worry about that.
Oh God.
Thank you to our patrons, the people who keep the show going, supporting us on Patreon. We got lots of cool stuff up there, mini-sodes and behind the scenes bits and the cutting room floor from most episodes, pretty much every episode. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Thank you to our regular listeners for supporting the show too. We need both of you. We need all of you. We are excited for Bigger Bash. Thanks to Bigger City for sponsoring this episode and many others. Bigger Bash is on September 6th to the 8th. They are currently sold out of tickets, but if you'll be there, we'll be there. And we're going to be doing these impromptu sort of one-on-one small interviews with people. We'll have a sort of some questions, some prompts. Basically, we're looking for stories about dating and chub chaser world and your experience in the community, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it'll be a mixed bag, a lot of stuff to chat about.
Yeah, all kinds of things. We're going to make a little episode about it. Very excited for that. Looking forward to it. And thank you to Big Fig and Bearskin for being affiliates of the show. You can get, if you follow the link on our website, you can get a $200 discount on your Big Fig purchase, which goes to us, help support the show. And you can use promo code BigFatGayPod to get 15% off your order on Bearskin. You can get some sexy new underwear to go with your Bigger Bash experience. And
you got to stand out at the pool, boys.
I mean, you could, I think, do your entire bottom wardrobe. Underwear, your shorts, your swimwear.
You could even clothe your tops if you wanted to.
No, they prefer
I don't know why
naked.
you'd want to,
but anyway, we are starting off today good with a super fun mailbag. So I'll take this one. Is straight to the point. We got a mailbag from a listener who just said, "Hey, I just wanted to thank you and the other guys for making the Big Fat Gay Podcast. I have loved listening to the conversations. It has meant a lot to me to hear the topics you discuss. I hope you'll keep making more episodes." And we're including this because it's just sometimes it's really nice to hear from people that, that this has had an impact. We get these moments every now and then where we kind of feel like we're operating in a bubble. Yeah. You sort of just like it's episode after episode doing your thing. And it's nice to have some people poke their heads through and go like, hey, like, thank you.
To me, this was like, it was like a postcard. Like, sometimes a friend is on the trip and you get a postcard. We actually had a friend who was traveling through Europe and like sent us a postcard from every city they went to. And it's very sweet.
Fun.
And it was just like, hey, like, hope you're well. And
thinking of you.
Yeah.
That's really sweet. You never see that anymore.
Yeah, we really, really appreciate it. Obviously, we do this because we do hope that it makes a difference. And, Yeah, so thank you. We're looking forward to more episodes and more fun things down the road. Bigger Bash being the next one. All right.
Well, and our 200th episode coming up.
Oh my God. That
Very
is
nearly.
happening soon.
Yeah,
Is it
Nearly,
really?
yeah.
This is, I think this is 191. Is that right?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yep.
whew.
I mean,
All right.
how many hours of
Don't
us have you?
don't do it.
Have you processed through your little ears and fingers, Michael?
Do we live in your
We
brain yet?
apologize for all of those hours.
All right, let's do it.
Jazz hands, everyone.
Penguin jazz hands.
Yeah, jazz fins.
I gotta say, I loved this video you sent, Trevor, because as a
I
non-TikTok
know. I think Michael
Well,
sent
actually-
it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Michael
listen-
sent this?
Yeah, a listener actually sent us this one, so thank you for that.
So it's a little video spotlighting a Chinese female athlete and talking about how they're sort of reshaping beauty standards in China. But I
Mhm.
gotta say, the video, the woman is so charming.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I wanted to pinch her cheeks.
the video is from Dr. Candice Lin, who does these videos kind of talking about like Chinese internet culture, or
Mhm.
at least the ones I have seen are all about what's happening on, what is this, the site? I know it's the people on the site. It's always the netizens.
She refers to them as the netizens. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the denizens of the internet. I like that.
So she's talking about the Chinese gold medal winner, weightlifting athlete.
I believe it's Li Wenwen.
Yes, Li Wenwen, who won the gold medal and just had this moment where she lifted her coach, who was a
Yeah, this
former
is great.
athlete.
She had a final attempt to lift, but she had already kind of assured her own victory. And so she gave the final attempt up to lift her coach instead, who's like this man, and she just like lifts him up. Oh, it's great. It's very heartwarming.
Who
And
was
he's-
a former Olympian himself, right?
Yes, he was a silver medalist, and he's so little compared to her, and it's really adorable. And what I love is that the meme now, at least in
Yeah.
netizens, is that it's like Kung Fu Panda.
It's
Kung Fu Panda,
and
Po,
Shifu?
and Shifu is the
Yeah.
trainer, and because they're that big little combo, and it's just
Yeah.
really adorable.
Mhm.
But I don't know how anyone could watch this video and not fall in love with Li Wenwen.
Yeah,
She's
Yeah.
just adorable, and the joy coming off of her in that moment is palpable and so
Well,
much fun to watch.
and she is a big girl. She's a weightlifter. And so I think there was also a callback to this idea of when big was beautiful in the Tang Dynasty in China, and just showing how voluptuous it's sort of the way in Western culture we think of like the Rubenesque figure. This was a time in Chinese culture when that was a mark of beauty and stature.
I also love that her nickname is Queen Wen.
No, so Queen Wen is the other athlete that she
Oh, is she? Oh, I'm sorry.
highlighted in the video. I'm going to try to, I listened to this so many different times at the like 0.75% speed to try to get it right. Sheng Quin Wen, aka Queen Wen, who was the first Asian tennis, the first Chinese tennis player to win gold. And there was controversy around, she had all these photo shoots. I don't know if it was before the win or after, but people were seeing them and they did not line up with how she looked, in the Olympics.
Well, because she is, she plays tennis, usually an outdoor sport. She's very tan. She's very muscular. And so all these photos of her, especially by, because she has these endorsement deals, they're photoshopping her to make her look thinner and whiter.
And taller.
Mm-hmm.
Just sort of
taller.
stretching her out. Yeah. And
like she's not good enough as an Olympian gold medalist.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this particular channel, Dr. Candace calls out those like toxic beauty standards and apparently people commenting on the videos as well, which is kind of cool to see. Like, it's not just, the influencer leading the charge, that it's sort of the people that she's able to educate, and they can kind of all say like, hey, like, this isn't cool. She's beautiful as is. You don't have to like warp her appearance for the commercial.
Well, and I thought something else was interesting is some of the comments are like, wow, I'm going to throw away my sunscreen, because whiteness can be a very big thing in some Asian cultures of wanting to look that pure porcelain skin. Or another commenter who said like, it makes me want to go to the gym and lift weights, and I'm like, okay. Not that that's necessarily better, but like it's a change in a particular beauty standard.
In defiance of the beauty standard that you must be fair and thin and tiny.
Yes.
No, Dr. Candice Lynn, I always love, I'm not a big TikTok person really, but I do love when I get her videos when I am on TikTok or when they get through on Instagram, because it's so interesting to see, international online discourse.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Instead of just like hot to girl.
And I do feel like we don't often get a lot of feedback from Asian countries in the United States. So it's nice to hear progress happening in other areas of the world too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I guess going back to our little corner of the world, this is I don't know, just like very American. Former Disney Channel star Dylan Sprouse was on was it Watch What Happens with Andy Cohen, or was it Andy Cohen's podcast?
It's an Andy Cohen show. Does it really matter?
His radio show.
Yeah. I was on Andy Cohen's radio show, revealing why he refused to tell a scripted fat joke about his co-star Kim Rhodes, who played his mom on the show.
So the show all of this is about is the Sweet Life?
The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
I think I am probably the only one who has ever seen an episode of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
I think I've seen like one.
Yeah. So it's even like past my time. It was a Disney Channel show about twin brothers who Cole and Dylan Sprouse played, the Zack and Cody, who were the children of Kim Rhodes' character who worked at the hotel. And it was like they lived in this hotel because the mom worked there. I think she was a manager or something, maybe a chef. But like it was all the hijinks they got into. They were like, what if Eloise was like a tween boy who was cute in a non-threatening way?
Okay. The idea is like, it's cool. Like, so this article is in the Hollywood Reporter, written by Christy Pina, and it's about this interview that he did on Andy Cohen's radio show. And I like that Christy focused the article not about the rest of the interview and not about the movie that he's promoting, but about this specific moment, which is that there was a fat joke that was written about Kim Rhodes' character back when they were recording the show. And Dylan Sprouse just straight up said, I'm not doing that.
Well, I love the story because number one, you got to get, first of all, he is 15 years old when they are taping this show. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
He is 15 and they're doing several takes of the scene and he keeps skipping over the joke. He just keeps skipping over it. Mm-hmm. And finally the producer says like, say the goddamn joke. And this 15-year-old star says, if the joke were funny, I would say it, but I am not
funny joke.
Write a funny joke and I'll say it. And because he was so offended that he was supposed to make a fat joke. And by the way, the reason it was a fat joke is because the actress was pregnant.
The actress, like, holy shit.
And so they turned that into a fat joke that he's supposed to, oh my God. And I mean, that is quite a thing. And Andy Cohen says like, wow, that takes some guts for a 15-year-old. And the guy says, well, when you're 15 years old and you're on a national television show, you have a very outsized impression of your influence and power.
Yeah. He was like, it's incredible what it'll do to your confidence when you have your own show. Like,
but in a world where you hear so many negative stories about the way like negative power has been used on set by stars and executive producers, it's so nice to hear just a straight up wholesome standing by the underdog story like that,
Well, and he ends the interview with saying that he was a husky kid, which like I went back to like look at like what did he look like during this period, and like I guess like for the Disney Channel. I think he was like kind of right on that cusp where like if he could have been like the fat character on another Disney Channel show. Like, and he was like slightly like, I mean, if you really look at like pictures of him and his identical twin brother, like he was maybe his face was slightly rounder.
Yeah. Meaning, so what you mean is if he had been a girl, the producer would have asked her to get gastric bypass.
Yeah. Right. No, and it's just the like, I think, child stars have such microscopes, and this has been just throughout time. I mean, look at
absolutely.
If anything, with the Facts of Life girls.
Oh my God!
There's just so much discourse around like just actors in general, but I feel like especially like controlling kid actors' bodies because like they are a commodity and often a limited commodity because there's been so many,
and they usually don't know how to stand up for themselves.
Yeah.
Like they're kids; they shouldn't have to. And the fact that he did is incredible. And I was thinking about this. most actors feel like any actor, like adult, would feel like you wouldn't necessarily have the ability to say something about, standing up for like, hey, I don't want to tell this fat joke. I don't want to do this sex scene. It feels uncomfortable, whatever. Like stuff that feels uncomfortable that shouldn't necessarily be in the material that you're working on. And most actors don't do that because you're concerned about your career. Like, am I going to be billed as hard to work with? Am I going to get blacklisted? And the thing is, like, he's worked a ton. Like there was a gap from 2012 to 2017, presumably when he was like finishing school, like kind of figuring out his own thing, but mostly has worked consistently ever since then. And you can see like this, at least for him, it didn't affect his career one bit.
Well, and I think it needs to be said that it makes a big difference that he was a boy and now a man when that happened. I think you can do that when you're a male. I think when you're a female, then you are hard to work with.
I'm actually looking at an article right now here on page 6, talking about how Dylan Sprouse himself was also fat shamed by a Disney executive on set, where Kim Rhodes had to dress down the producer. So,
nice.
It looks like there was a little bit of
back and forth,
like team protection, pulling together to protect themselves from at least one bad actor on set.
I'm just shocked that Disney would allow this to happen.
Yes. Go over there. Go stand in the shocked corner, Michael.
Gallows humor, everybody.
There's a, I don't know, maybe spoiler for next week or another coming episode where there was a similar incident that did not get shut down on Boy Meets World from the 90s about a boy who meets the world.
What a first date that is.
But like multiple, like basically in present day stars from Boy Meets World unpacking an episode where basically the entire cast is being fat shamed.
Wow.
Ooh, fun. We have,
but this is not our story today.
Yeah. But blow the whistle, Don.
Yeah.
Eagle, I summon you. Fat Watch 2024.
I was about to say we've come a long way since then, but perhaps things are more cyclical than linear. So we have an article in Cosmopolitan, which, have we done a Cosmo article before? I don't remember.
We have. So. And every once in a while, you get some good articles there that are, it's not all Teen Vogue.
So this was written by Chloe Gray, titled "A Decade After Strong Not Skinny. We have gone full circle with diet culture. The past 10 years have propelled us toward body positivity, but in a culture permeated by TikTok, diet hacks, and Ozempic, the body standard goalposts continue to shift."
Yeah. To summarize the article, it's really about how the author felt really fat shamed during the strong, not skinny period, because it was like, oh, so I still have the wrong body, just in a different way.
Yeah.
Right. And it's sort of coming back to this. And it just made me think of the whole, because it's never about health. Once you get that it's never about health, it all makes complete sense. It's either about just prejudice, like, I don't like your body and you need to change that for me. Or what's even more toxic is we can make a lot of money when we sell you something you need. And if you don't need it, we're going to make you think you do. So the whole point of, whether you're talking about beauty articles or body positivity or all this, they're predicated on the idea that you are lacking something. And we first need to show you that you're lacking it, whether it's confidence or girls or boys or something, you're lacking something. And we can provide that for you and you should pay us for it. And that doesn't matter whether you're talking about skinny jeans or full cut. It's about manufacturing a need and then selling to that need. And a great way to generate need, a maniacal way to generate need, is through insecurity and insufficiency.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially when it gets compounded by, if the product doesn't work and get you where we promise you it's going, it's your fault, not the products. You weren't faithful enough to what they take.
Well,
that's why in all these ads, so it's like, use when as directed, we'll do this.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that is actually unique to the fatosphere, because it's only fat people who are always at fault when the product doesn't work. Like if I buy a couch and it breaks, I don't get blamed by the internet for having a faulty couch. But if I buy a diet product and it doesn't work, Oh, well, it's because I obviously, I'm a fat fuck. So it's always reflexive. It's always put back on the fat person as the failure, never the product. And that's such a great marketing scheme, right? Because then I can sell all I want because it's never the product's responsibility.
I remember this is going way back when, but in the 90s, they used to have these diet supplements on sale on TV all the time. And they always had a money back guarantee that they very proudly announced loudly all over the product, knowing no one was ever going to return it. No one.
Well, there's two things there. Number one, it is unlikely that most people, if they have a product like that and it's a certain price point, they're not going to bother to return it. They'll forget about it. And also one of the earliest, dictums of mail order marketing is the shipping and handling costs more than the product.
Yeah.
That is not cost to buy, but cost to produce. So if you have a $2 pill and it's $5 shipping and handling, it doesn't matter if they return it.
So I think it's just so interesting looking at this. Chloe Gray really laid out the 10-year cycle of Skinny Not Strong versus where we are now, and seeing the similarities and kind of how much I had forgotten about this movement, which I didn't see as much because 10 years ago, the way we consumed social media was so much different, even though it's similar. It's just everything's, I feel like, so much faster. It was a little more
escapable back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the way she breaks down kind of the whole, the meal prep stuff and the start of that. And
oh God, meal prep.
Proteins,
fucking zucchini oats. What?
Yeah. Oh, stop that.
I had to look that up.
Do you want to...
Well, what else are you going to eat with your cauliflower rice?
No.
And your artichoke pasta?
No.
What I found interesting, so she pulls a statistic. So between 2014 and 2020, only 6% of sports science research focused exclusively on women, compared to 31% that included just men. And I think that's so interesting because, we're constantly talking about on the podcast about how there's so much body stuff that is not even talked about, let alone researched around men and eating disorders and body image stuff. And how in a field that I feel like is still male dominated, but I feel like there is just so much more, especially in recent years with, just women's sports, women's health stuff in that sphere, that it's still that there's still that much of a gap.
Yeah, 6% is insane. Although I suspect that is purely based on money. Men's sports generate a lot more money, whether or not you have equivalent levels of talent and performance on the women's side.
I think we've talked about in the past, when they did medical studies, they often would just avoid women because women were just men with hormones to their thinking. So,
no, that's a quote. No, not quite. They are men with the wrong hormones. Yeah. That's why they didn't want to study. They don't want to get involved with menstruation and childbirth and things like that.
So it was literally a fairly recent development where they started including women in medical studies for medicine.
Yeah, it's fascinating because she talks about how, back when these trends were sort of in full swing and she was trying to, she was doing her best to kind of fit in and follow them and do what, society pressures you to do. She lost her period. I think called amenorrhea, Amenorrhoea. Somebody else can figure out how to pronounce that. But the idea is people don't talk about that. People don't talk about that happening. And so when it does, it's well, holy shit, is this okay? Is it not okay? What's causing this? Sudden health conditions like that coming kind of out of nowhere can be really concerning and even dangerous. And the fact that it's just, but it's in the service of your zoats and your workout. And
it's very sports oriented. It's very well, of course you lost your period. You're doing it right.
Yeah. And it's just so not inspected the way that it should be. Anyway, this article is very much a deep dive type article. There's a lot of crunchy stuff to get into. It's really informative. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Well, that actually leads us pretty well into our main topic.
I say so.
How can you best adapt your movement and exercise to your life, right?
And to working for you,
yeah. We always, what's the old advice? The old advice is, okay, park farther away in the parking lot. take the stairs instead of the elevator.
Oh, God.
boy.
And all of that stuff sounds so freaking belittling, and I always felt insulted when people told me that.
Well, I think we got to take a giant step back first, which is, and again, my hero, Reagan Chastain, talks about this all the time. Some people can't do the recommended exercises because they are disabled for some other reason than, let's say, being fat or being unfit or whatever. So it really, you have to step back. Like, yeah, walking is great advice, but what if you're, what if you don't walk? What if you're for whatever reason? And so it's really important that if you are pursuing, and I just say like, that's sort of the first premise. If you are pursuing some sort of physical, physical movement, expression, whether you call it exercise, whatever you call it, how do you configure that so that it's, number one, appropriate for your body, and number two, kind of, enjoyable? Because if it's not fun, you're not going to do it, and you probably shouldn't be doing it. I'm not a big believer. And, that's, like I always say, the thing about turning 40, when you get your 40s, you're like, why am I doing this? I've always hated this.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah. That's why I really liked, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but that article with Cristiano Ronaldo where he was like, nobody likes working out. Like, and it's just like, yeah, he does it because it's his job to do it. But like the idea that, you got to love the pain, you got to like embrace it, no pain, no gain, like the whole like power through mentality. Also, somebody just told me about this recently. I can't remember what it's called. There's a stupid internet term for it, but the whole like, there's a weird point of social media pride about like sitting through like a flight, like
raw dogging.
Oh, raw dogging a 6-hour flight, going on a 6-hour flight or longer where you don't have anything but the seat in front of you to stare at.
You just stare into the middle distance. You do nothing to engage yourself. To me, it's the same mentality. It's like there's this weird point of like superiority about being able to do something uncomfortable that other people don't do, because I guess it's like we all are horrible sinners and deserve to feel bad. And so if you can embrace that, then you're better than other people. I don't know.
Yeah. In addition to Protestantism, it sort of reminds me of, it's the mental equivalent of the ice bath. Like, I'm going to submerge my head in ice for 6 hours, stare into space on a 6-hour drive. And you got to get, I do think there is some value in unplugging, of course. And there is a lot of value actually in being alone with your own thoughts. Sure. And for some people, an airplane is kind of the only place they can do that, where you can really just be alone with your thoughts, and the phone doesn't work unless you make it work. Like you buy the Wi-Fi package or something.
I feel like the kind of person who's going to do that. Oh, sorry. Go.
Well, I'm just saying that there's that. We're okay, great. But the idea that like, no, I'm going to stick it out. No, like now when it becomes a point of pride that I'm not going to watch the movie.
Well, even though that's kind of why I brought it up is like our main subject is about like exercise and finding the kind of exercise that works for you. And the thing that stopped me from getting traditional exercise, like going to a gym, was that attitude. It was this kind of bragging about how well
suffering.
Like how much you suffer, but how much you can do it. Like it's this weird point of superiority and pride and self-righteousness that you like, I work this hard, and it feels gross to me. And I'm not saying everyone who goes to the gym is like that. Obviously that's not the case, but that is a very, very vocal majority, I would say.
And it's very Protestant. It's this very like, I am suffering. Well, maybe just, I don't know, maybe Catholic too. I am suffering now for the benefit later. And the more I suffer, the more my virtue.
It's Catholic thing too.
Yeah. And it always go back. It'll go like your body is a temple.
Don't leave us Jews out. We're great at self-suffering.
But anyway, the point is that for the longest time, my source of exercise, my primary source of exercise was playing soccer. I am now 34, and I've been dealing with some other health issues that have made it hard to keep playing soccer. And particularly, I keep injuring myself and thinking that I'm rehabbing it properly, and then I don't, then I re-injure. And it's like, I just keep hitting these stumbling blocks. I'm like, oh, obviously I have to do other things to like strengthen my body and make me more resilient so that I can keep doing this and not, and the answer is like, you got to get in a gym. Like you've got to do the exercises required.
And not to point out the obvious, but to point out the obvious, you just talked about Cristiano Ronaldo, like someone who goes to a gym because that is necessary for the playing of their sport, not because they like going to the gym, not because they get points in heaven or with their girlfriend for going to the gym, but just because it helps tune the body.
Yeah. And it's necessary.
Or in your case, medicinal healing, like.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm calling tuning. Yeah.
Yeah. Tuning. Like you've got to make yourself like effectively. Sports of, I would say most varieties, if not all, are, or at least physical sports, are about pushing your body past the point that is normally capable of. And you have to make yourself resilient to that. When you're a kid, you're fucking resilient to anything. Like there's not a whole lot that can happen to you that you can't bounce back from. Not the case after you're like 25-ish. And so I had to learn that kind of the hard way. And what I've come to recently was that the mental blocks I have about like forcing myself to go to the gym and like kind of hating it and kind of realizing, okay, well, I can hate it, but I can still go. And then I don't really go that often and it's not enough. It's just not enough to get to where I want to go. I was like, fuck it. I'm going to hire a personal trainer who specializes in like athletic recovery. Like how do you strengthen the things that are weak so that you can kind of do what you want to do? And I just started that process a week ago today, actually. So
how's it going?
Yeah.
It's been interesting. So my first session, I learned, we were kind of talking about this before the podcast. I learned very, very quickly that there is a difference between how you prep for an intense workout like that versus like playing soccer for an hour. Or for me, like soccer is so much about like running and stopping and sprinting. And like you have so much movement that I don't want to eat within at least 2, maybe 3 hours of the game because I don't want anything weighing me down.
And when Michael said that, my jaw hit the floor because I cannot possibly imagine going to the gym and not having eaten for 2 hours.
It's and part of the problem
I'm
is
actually with Michael on that one. If I have food in me when I try to work out, I'm going to get a little sick.
I will weigh in on the food thing very quickly. So I usually work out in the mornings. I can work out on an empty stomach, but it's not as good. But the best workouts I have had.
Listen all.
So I've said this before on the podcast. A Cinnabon before a workout is the perfect amount of like carb and just
sugar.
Like pure sugar, like sugar rush. You have caffeine because you have coffee with your Cinnabon, of course. It is. I have not told my trainer this. I am curious what his reaction would be, but it is the perfect.
I need to balance this out because the mistake that I made was not just food, but it was also not being hydrated.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So I had coffee, but I also drank like a full, 16-ounce glass of water that day. Like I wasn't, but I was sort of just my norm. Like I was just like, whatever, this is another day, but I'm going to work out at the end of it. And what happened was I did about 40 minutes. I was feeling I was working out, but I was feeling good. And then I hit an oxygen deficit. And I have asthma. Apparently I live at 2,700 feet now. Like I hit it and I could not come back. And I was like lightheaded. I was dizzy. I was nauseous, like full blown, like
I have so been there. Been there. And for me, it was dehydration and not having enough to eat.
And that was exactly what it was for me because I talked to the trainer about it. He was like, yeah, we're done for the day. Like got rehydrated. And then he was like, look, like do these things before your next workout and we'll see how it goes. And I was like, totally fine. Next time, like no time for me to have actually gotten better at any of this stuff, just better prepared.
Yeah.
Since that's an issue that I think a lot of people hit when they first start working out, what did you do in that moment, Michael? When you were feeling that dizziness, so was it just water in you quickly? Just stop,
I had to lie down on the floor. Like it was like you stop, don't do anything but lie down, recover, drink water when you're able to. Ideally, drink
when you're
something
able to, not right away. Then,
some people will just throw up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, I wouldn't push yourself to the point of like throwing up, but yeah, electrolytes, like get something with electrolytes in it, whether it's Gatorade or liquid IV or something.
And don't be bashful about lying on the floor. That could take 10 to 20 minutes.
Yeah. It took me a full 25 minutes to feel, I won't say normal, but like normal enough that I could drive.
How long were you on the floor, flat on your back?
Like 10 or 15 minutes.
Yep.
And then I went back the next time and it was fine. And it was just such a clear thing of like, oh, I am still operating out of the mentality that I took out of being a kid, a child athlete. And I'm an adult now. I had a gap of like 8 years of not doing this. And when I tried it back again, it just doesn't work the same way. And that's been the adjustment period for me.
So the reason why I want to make sure that we sit on that for a moment is like, I feel like I know I am of a type where I don't exercise for a long period of time. And then I jump into it with both feet, with an expectation that I should be able to do whatever it is I put my mind to.
Right.
And I can be relentlessly unforgiving, right? So when I hit those dizziness points, I did not do the steps that Michael did to take care of himself in that moment, which led to much more prolonged problems for me and a greater reluctance to go back and try again, right? So like everybody has different needs after a workout. Everybody you need to pay attention to how you're feeling every step of the way and not just go off of like a prescribed, this is what you should expect and this is what you should do. Pay attention to the signs.
So that was exactly what was happening to me, where for my whole life, but more exaggeratedly here when we moved to a drier climate and a higher altitude, was holding myself to the standard that I should be performing at the same level as other people who looked like me and were playing soccer with me. And I was struggling. And for the longest time, I was like, oh, I'm just out of shape. I'm just, it's my fault, basically. I need to work harder. What was actually happening was I had undiagnosed asthma that was really exacerbated by like less oxygen, drier climate. And I was hitting those points of dizziness playing soccer. And that's when I would get injured because oxygen deficit, couldn't keep my balance. And just like Don said, instead of saying, oh, something's wrong here, I need to go like take a break, like relax, like do something else. Like, no, I would try and push through it. And then I would get injured because I couldn't keep my own balance.
Yeah. I kind of want to drop in here. What's common to both these stories, Don's and Michael's, is that idea of not being enough in the moment.
Yeah.
And something that's really helpful to remember that I learned a while ago that I also have to kind of represence is, you know what? Your body, I don't care what problems you got. I don't care how you're feeling, but right in any given moment, your body is doing the best it can. And you need to be gracious and generous with it. And that doesn't mean, oh, you don't push during a workout, but it does mean that if you are getting feedback from your body, like the first thing, like if I start training somebody in weightlifting at the gym, the first thing that you have to teach them is the difference between different types of discomfort. Like, yeah, that hurts because you're ruining your joint versus that hurts because your muscle is tired. And you have lactic acid buildup. And if you've never worked out before, you don't understand that. And so to really develop an appreciation for what your body is telling you so that you can better be in harmony with it, which is supposedly the whole point of the exercise.
I think that's a great point to bring up. And I know that like personally, like there was a point when very early when I started going to the gym where I was like, oh my God, I'm like, I have to keep doing this. It's like you just have like it doesn't stop. Like you don't win. Like it's just
you don't win the gym.
Going.
Yeah,
and it's like you get and it'll probably get harder because I will be able to do more things and like continue like that you keep going up the pyramid and the granting yourself grace. So I spent most of the earlier part of this year dealing with another health thing going on that was affecting my ability to do legs in Pilates and with my trainer. And it was just something where I was like, oh my God, it's going to be so bad when I go back. And it's just like affecting other things. Like I'm just
go back to the gym.
This. Yeah. Like I'm not getting this work in with my legs. And it was impacting just other, like my back and then also just like mobility stuff. And I was like, well, like I need to do something, but I can't do the work I'm normally doing. So I was like, okay, I just need to make a point to like do more walking and just like all like when Dan runs errands, like I will just go with him and I will do an errand and that will be plenty because I am, getting other stuff in with workouts, but that is like a good way to work my legs when I am not doing squats or step ups or whatever else.
Yeah.
The physical super manageable under your own circumstances right there.
Yeah.
It's a great suggestion.
I had to do something kind of similar, but in a more mental way, which was currently I'm in the worst shape I've ever been in my life. So I'm having to kind of learn what that means, kind of getting back into working out. And one thing I was noticing, I have ADHD and I sort of can't stop thinking. Like there's no end to the internal monologue. And so it's more about like, okay, focus it over here so it's not destructive.
Yeah.
And so you're in the middle of a workout, it's a lot of repetition. And my mind immediately drifts to, am I doing this as well as I should be? Am I doing enough weight? Am I doing enough reps? Am I pushing myself hard enough? Though, where would somebody else who, looks like me be? And I have to like cut that thought process off because it's automatic. It just starts on its own. And I have to go just stare at the wall. Just stare at the wall and feel yourself.
To reset.
Just to reset and just like feel what it feels like. Breathe, keep control your breath. Like literally just close into what's right in front of my nose mentally instead of letting my mind go out into the world, into all of these different comparisons and all of these other toxic directions. And it helps a lot.
This is going to sound like I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm not. All right. So a friend of mine used to teach English as a second language. And what he always said was that his Japanese students had a much harder time learning English than his Brazilian students.
I think this is me, Don.
Oh, that's what I thought. Okay, I have another friend that taught us. Okay, so if I'm paraphrasing you correctly, what you said was that your Japanese students had a harder time because they felt sort of a social shame to trying to perform English incorrectly, which made it difficult to learn to say it correctly. Whereas the Brazilian students were totally fine looking silly while they got it wrong until they got it right.
Right.
Which allowed them to progress through that phase much faster.
Yeah.
Now, my experience of exercise has been shame has always been one of my biggest preventing factors, right? So like I've talked about, Dan is sick to death of me talking about on the show about kayaking. I love kayaking. I can understand it. I talk about it too much, but kayaking is one of those things where like I can't get in the boat without feeling shame because I feel like I'm too big for the boat, right? I feel like I look silly, right? I would love to take some ballroom dancing classes. I think that would be fun. I think I would look silly. I think that, so getting past that and sort of accepting that and throwing yourself into these things until you can get past that shame moment and start enjoying the fun of it, for me, has been really key in most of the exercise I enjoy.
Yeah. I'm wondering, would it help to, like, if you found a YouTube video that had a fat ballroom dancer, would it help to see a video or some example of someone you could relate to doing that thing you want to do? Is that helpful? Or is that just, well, that's great for them, but not me?
Maybe, but I don't think for me. Yeah. For me, it's like, that's them.
That's
I'm not them. I'm me. And they're not here when I'm doing it in front of this group of people who've likely never seen them. So that context doesn't exist. But that said, the shame in those moments, the shame never lasts as long as you think it will.
No.
For me, getting in the kayak, once I'm in the kayak, I don't think about it again until the next time I have to get into a kayak. And then it's another 5-second process. And then we're past it and I'm having fun again. It's like jumping into ice water. Like that first second may suck, but you get used to it very quickly. And you realize that it's not the terror that you thought it was.
I think you're echoing something that Michael has said before and something that I often talk about in the realm of like presentation and public speaking, which is, where's your focus? If your focus is on you, it will always go badly. Like Michael, you've talked about, like, you can't play soccer focused on like, I have to make the goal. I have to make the goal. I have to make the goal, because you're never going to make the goal that way. Yeah. You have to sort of be in the moment and on the court. You can't be with yourself, watching yourself. And I think that's true of like probably every moment of life.
Yeah, that's definitely not just a sports thing. That applies everywhere.
I know that when I'm coaching teachers, when I'm coaching public speaking, people are horrified by public speaking because they're thinking about themselves. They're thinking about what I'm going to say and how I'm going to look and what I'm going to do. And like, well, okay, well, that's your problem.
My way around that is just, I have to be speaking about a subject that I'm obsessed with.
Yes.
And then you can't shut me up.
Well, and because now your attention, through the magic of ADHD or whatever it is, your focus is no longer on you. It's on the topic.
Oh yeah, whether other people like it or not.
Yeah, that's really not valid. Yeah,
but just speaking as a person who's had, confronting these fears are good for you on many levels anyway. So yeah, I encourage you.
Yeah, and you know what? The thing is, not everybody's looking at you. You know why? Because they're looking at themselves. Yeah, they're obsessed with how they look. They haven't got time to look at you. The only time they look at you is when you remind them of a fear about how they look.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think if I were to wrap up my sort of the current state that I'm in as far as like fitness and sports and trying to get into a shape that I'm happy with. And when I say, by the way, when I say shape, I don't mean like literal shape. I just mean the reference to how physically fit you are. Sure. Like, I don't need to look a certain way. I just want to be able to perform a certain way.
For me, fitness is not wheezing at the top of a staircase.
Yeah. Being able to perform whatever it is, whatever your marker is. For me, like just having somebody, again, I know not everyone's going to have like access to a trainer, but if this is kind of the route that you want to go, it helps immensely to have somebody just sort of telling me what to do.
Yeah.
So I can take my own brain out of the process because then I'm starting to compare. And then I'm like, well, I don't know how much weight I should start with. So what if I start with this amount that feels fine, but is that not enough? And then you start, but when somebody says, okay, start with this, and then you just go do it. And that for me helps just sort of get me into the process and the rhythm of it and take my brain out of the equation because my brain does a lot of things I don't want it to.
Yeah. For me,
your brain is not always your friend in these situations.
Not always.
My brain is also not my friend a lot of the time.
Brain and brain. What is brain?
And I find like recently, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, I had just a very stressful situation I was dealing with. I had a very unpleasant phone call. And I was like, I am so glad I have a workout in, half an hour because I'm going to work off this phone call.
Nice.
And it is just a great thing to do, is just to be able to really just push things out of your body at the gym.
That's a good tip. I'm going to start scheduling things that I hate right before my workout.
No, it's true. I have found that exercise in whatever form, whether it's maybe if it's just a walk, is such a great relief for me for anxiety.
Yeah. All right. Do we have we don't have a tip for today, do we?
No tips.
I don't think so. What about the bit?
Well, so humankind has figured out all sorts of ways to use our bodies in amazing forms, using movements for activity to create beauty through dance, death through warfare, or new babies through boogie woogie woogie. In fact, that's right. Boogie woogie woogie.
I feel like we're suddenly in The Sims, like we're woohooing.
God, I did that till I just couldn't boogie woogie no more.
So, in fact, we've created so many ways to use our bodies to entertain and amuse that most of us haven't even heard of most of them. The World Games, the Olympics' lesser-known little brother, gives all sorts of not ready for the Olympic sports the chance to strut their stuff on a world stage.
Oh, my.
Some of the past contenders have gone on to shine at the Olympics, like beach handball, sumo, and indoor tug-of-war.
We have the Olympics at home.
Yep. Others have gone on to be breakdancing.
I'm sorry, Trevor. I don't know who got that, but I did.
That was good.
So, with this in mind, which of the following is not a sport appearing at the World Games in 2024? 1, cheerleading. 2, Quidditch. 3, orienteering. Or 4, casting, meaning fishing.
Fly casting? Yeah.
Can we get a definition for orienteering?
Orienteering is outdoor navigation.
Mm-hmm. Huh. You get a map and a compass and a pat on the back.
I really want to say Quidditch, but I do know that people play organized Quidditch the way that you could without having magical brooms. So I don't know if that's actually
like vacuum cleaners.
I think they have brooms, but you're running around. You're not.
I want every broom to have a horse head.
Horses. Yeah. They are literally like hobby horse brooms. Yeah.
Yeah. As far as I've seen, at least.
I mean, I almost want to say it's Quidditch only because of like trademark whatever stuff.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I'm thinking.
They would not be able to call
that's
it
a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And of course, in Quidditch, there's a ban on trans athletes.
Well, I should share that after my research, I've discovered that the name
J.K.
of
Rowling.
the sports are not decided by the World Cup. It's decided by the league that represents the sport that then joins the World Cup.
Oh, interesting.
So if J.K. Rowling has approved the Quidditch League, then they can
They would
join.
conceivably be able to join using the name.
Okay, I see. I'm going to go with Quidditch because I don't have a better guess.
Okay.
I think Quidditch is too obvious a red herring, so I'm going to go with casting. Get that the hell out of here. Get out of here with your casting.
I'm going to go with orienteering because I want that to be a choice, but I feel like it's just like, I can't imagine how they would really measure that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
The correct answer is the one that is not appearing at the World Games this year is Quidditch. Well done. Now, I think orienteering is actually an interesting one because it's just a map and a compass.
Yeah.
And then you
Bye-bye.
have to find your way to the end the fastest.
Yeah.
It's
and so
basically a race through the mountainside.
Yeah.
Do they drop them off all together or are they in different places?
I believe they are all dropped off together, but they don't get this is not gospel. This is what I remember. I think they don't leave at the same time. I think they're staggered leaving, and then they time how long it takes for them to get there.
Yes.
I think it should be orienteering should become the Hunger Games, and it's the same thing, except all of the supplies are like in a pile, like Hunger Games.
All right. Now, there are plenty of sports still trying to get into the World Games that have not yet gotten enough attention on the world stage. Three of these are represented by actual associations that are trying to get them on there. One or two of these may have appeared in past World Games, but only one of them is not a sport that is trying to sort of get world attention right now. All right.
Okay.
Which of the following is not a real sport? 1, sport hawking or sport stooling, which is skateboarding or breakdancing with a small bar stool. Bossa ball, volleyball with trampolines, basically.
I mean, that sounds awesome.
Ostrich racing.
Ah, yes.
Jockeys race while riding ostriches.
Yes, yes.
Or 4, pole leaping, trying to climb the highest pole and make the successful longest jump to the top of another pole.
Oh, God.
I'm inclined to say ostrich racing because I know that's a thing, but I feel like people would be against it.
Also, I feel like the number of countries that have access to ostriches to race would be pretty limited, right?
Yes.
You have,
Eskimo takes the gold.
You have domesticated ostriches raised for farming around the world, so there is access.
I guess I agree with Trevor. I think I'm going to go with ostrich racing.
Okay.
It seems to have the highest barrier to entry too. Like you need you have to have an ostrich to do it.
Well, you have to put an ostrich between your legs. That in itself. I'm going to go with the bar stool nonsense.
Okay. The correct answer is in fact pole leaping. That's the only one that does not have an organized league, although it is a popular sort of trick done in various parts of Southeast Asia.
Wait, pole leaping doesn't have an association, but bar stool breakdancing does?
If you go up and you look out there, yes. And some of the videos, I went out and watched some ostrich racing videos. They are weird.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. But speaking of weird, we're going to get weirder here.
Oh, good.
There are too many awesome weird sports out there to cram into 2 questions. So as a spillover question, which of the following is not a real sport practiced somewhere? Right?
Oh, at all.
Yep. All right. 1. And I should say I have translated all of the names for these into English, even the fake one.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
1, kickball, which is basically volleyball with no arms or hands.
Isn't that soccer?
Okay. No, volleyball.
No, I know, but
like you have to get over the net, never let it touch the ground.
Okay.
That whole thing. Okay. 2, wife carrying. Participants carry their wives over a timed distance, and the winner receives his wife's weight in beer.
This feels gross. Ugh.
I feel like 3, I've seen that. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen that too.
3, fireball soccer. Soccer played barefoot with a flaming ball made of coconut materials. Or 4, hat snatching, a battle royale between a crowd of around 20 behatted people where the last person wearing a hat is the winner.
Oh, I would pay to see that. I want to be there.
I think it's the flaming soccer one. I can't imagine kicking a coconut like that.
Fireball is coconut materials. Coconut materials. It is a manufactured ball, but it is made with coconut materials, so it burns.
I think
that sounds dreadful.
I still think that.
Even if it exists, I don't want it to, so I'm voting for that.
I'm torn between that and hat snatching because I really want hat snatching to be real. But part of me is like, Trevor, it's not real. There's no hat snatching.
I want hat snatching so bad.
I'm going to go with hat snatching just because part of me just can't believe.
And the correct answer is, in fact, hat snatching.
No.
Yeah. However, that is something we can fix, gentlemen.
Oh my God, add Bigger Bash.
At Bigger Bash.
We're going to do our first hat snatching competition.
Yes.
All right.
We could do pool hat snatching for like a low impact version of it.
And in the immortal words of Buckaroo Banzai, people aren't wearing enough hats.
That would become bathing suit snatching, like in a heartbeat.
And if it hadn't already.
Well, Trevor, I am excited about our hat snatching event at the upcoming Gather. If our listeners want to participate, where could they write in about that?
Well, we're on Instagram and Twitter as @BigFatGayPod. We're on Facebook as the Big Fat Gay Podcast. Leave us 5 stars there. Leave us 5 stars on your preferred podcast listening platform. Leave us a review too. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/BigFatGayPod. See the articles we talked about at www.bigfatgaypod.com, baby. Didn't trip over it this time. Maybe you're listening while racing on your ostrich. And
I've seen Swiss Family Robinson.
you're just going, you're racing. But then there's an ostrich behind you and someone's on it. And oh no, they're coming for your hat.
Watch out.